In the early 1700s, Los Angeles did not exist as a city. There were no streets, no buildings, and no urban life. This land belonged to nature and to the Tongva people, who had lived in the region for thousands of years. Their villages were located near rivers and fertile valleys, and daily life followed natural rhythms shaped by the land. For generations, the Tongva developed complex social structures, trade routes, and cultural traditions. Southern California was not empty or undeveloped. It was a living, organized landscape long before European arrival. In 1769, the balance began to change. A Spanish expedition led by Gaspar de Portola reached the region during its journey through Alta California. This marked the first major European contact with the land that would later become Los Angeles. In 1771, Mission San Gabriel Archangel was founded. The mission became the center of Spanish colonial influence in the region. Agriculture expanded, livestock was introduced, and indigenous labor was redirected into the mission system. For native communities, this period brought disease, forced change, and cultural loss. In 1781, a small group of 44 settlers officially founded El Pueblo de Nuestra Señora, la Reina de Los Ángeles. This moment marked the formal birth of Los Angeles. The pueblo was remote, modest, and created to support the mission system rather than to grow into a major city. By 1790, the population of Los Angeles remained under a few hundred residents. Life revolved around farming, cattle ranching, and religious traditions. There were no paved roads, no commerce, and no signs of future fame. By the late 1790s, the settlement had proven its ability to survive. Los Angeles was no longer an experiment. It had become a permanent community. As the 19th century began in 1800, Los Angeles entered a new stage of its history. The pueblo remained small and rural, but its presence was now firmly established. In 1810, the Mexican War of Independence began, slowly weakening Spanish authority across California. Although the conflict unfolded far from Los Angeles, its effects were felt even in this quiet pueblo. Supplies became harder to obtain, governance grew less stable, and the future of the region became uncertain. By 1821, Spain's rule had ended, and Los Angeles became part of Mexican California. For the residents of the pueblo, this political transition brought new laws and new administrators. But daily life remained largely unchanged. Farming, ranching, and religious traditions continued to define the rhythm of the town. Throughout the 1820s and 1830s, large ranchos spread across Southern California. Cattle ranching became the backbone of the local economy, and hides and tallow were traded with passing ships along the coast. Los Angeles remained isolated, connected to the outside world only by long horseback journeys and slow-moving trade routes. News from Mexico City or the eastern United States could take months to arrive. In 1846, the Mexican-American War reached California, bringing military conflict to the region. Control of Los Angeles changed hands multiple times during the war, creating tension and uncertainty among its residents. 2 years later, in 1848, the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo formally transferred California to the United States. This agreement permanently altered the city's political, legal, and economic future. In 1850, California was officially admitted to the Union, and Los Angeles became an American city. At that time, the town remained small and largely rural, With a population numbering only a few thousand people, its streets were still unpaved, its buildings modest, and its economy centered on agriculture and ranching. Yet this political transition marked a turning point. American institutions were introduced. New land laws reshaped property ownership, and legal systems began to change. These shifts opened the region to outside investment and encouraged new settlers to arrive, even though growth was still slow. Throughout the following decades, Los Angeles remained distant from the nation's economic centers. Travel was difficult, and communication with the eastern United States could take weeks. Despite this isolation, the foundations of future expansion were quietly taking shape. By the 1870s, everything began to change. Railroads finally connected Southern California to the rest of the country, ending decades of isolation. This breakthrough transformed Los Angeles almost overnight, allowing goods, people, and information to move freely in and out of the region. Agriculture expanded rapidly as farmers gained access to national markets. Trade increased, industries began to form, and migration accelerated as access to the region improved. Los Angeles was no longer cut off from the rest of the country. It was becoming connected. By the 1890s, growth reached an unprecedented pace. New neighborhoods appeared, businesses multiplied, and the population surged as newcomers arrived from across the nation. What had once been a remote colonial pueblo was now a developing American city with ambition and momentum. The quiet settlement of the 1700s had given way to a place of opportunity. Los Angeles began to attract those seeking land, work, and a new beginning, laying the foundations of its future identity. By the end of the 19th century, Los Angeles stood on the edge of transformation. The slow beginnings of the 1700s and the gradual growth of the 1800s had prepared the city for dramatic change. Everything that followed in the 20th century would be built upon this long and patient evolution. Los Angeles did not rise overnight. It was shaped by land, survival, and time. And by the dawn of the modern era, the foundations of one of the world's most famous cities were firmly in place.